Leaked W14, Mercedes plans for 2023. So this is what we're going to be talking about today, as Mercedes has had a very tough season in 2022, considering how good they were in the previous 8 years. Not only did they win 8 straight Constructors' Championships, but they managed to win 7 straight Drivers' Championships as well. From 2014 onwards, apart from his teammate Nico Rosberg in 2016, Hamilton's competition was pretty much non-existent, which is why we were extremely surprised to see such a drop in performance in 2022. Nevertheless, Mercedes spoke about the 2023 season, finally giving us an insight into what they're planning to do with the W14 version of the car to make it competitive yet again. Want to find out more? Stick around with us until the end of this video. The 2022 season is still alive for Mercedes, and although the Brackley-based team is still looking towards its first win of the season with 4 races remaining, they are not in a good spot as we speak. The fight for P2 in the Constructors' Championship is still a realistic goal, and nothing would delight Mercedes more than winning this achievement against Ferrari. It's evident that Red Bull is in a league of their own, but is it possible for Mercedes to challenge the Austrian team in the seasons to come? Well, the car will have to undergo huge changes, that is for sure. The fact that it hasn't performed nearly as well as it did in the previous seasons just goes to show that Mercedes missed out on the philosophy of the 2022 technical regulations. With the engine freezing taking place until the 2026 season, it's evident that Mercedes will have to work with what they have in their own hands, and the aerodynamical aspects of the car will have to suffer the biggest changes. The good news for the team is that they don't have to worry about the reliability of the engine. Although Binotto, Ferrari's principal, stated earlier this season that he will likely work on a fast but unreliable engine rather than a slow but reliable one, his team is struggling to maintain P2 and has lost championship hopes due to engine reliability. Therefore, if Mercedes can hit the jackpot with the additional rules that are going to be applied from 2023 onwards, rest assured that they are in it for a good season. So what are some of the changes that Mercedes tends to implement? For starters, they're going to work on some solutions prior to the end of the 2022 season, meaning that in Austin, they're going to implement the last aerodynamical upgrade package that is going to help them understand a couple of things when it comes to the performance of the W14. The W13, or the 2022 version of the Mercedes car, has proved to be the most challenging one to drive, and the engineers are thoroughly studying some of the behavior in order to avoid some mistakes for the 2023 season. This is why Andrew Shovlin, the director of trackside engineering for Mercedes, said that they found an issue with the W13 that has helped them a lot when it comes to developing the 2023 car. We decided to stay at our highest downforce level. Part of that decision was that it was actually giving us the best lap times in the race condition where we were going to get high degradation in the dry, but we also had seen this rain that was coming in on Sunday, and we felt that in a wet race that might be a benefit. As it happens, the DRS was never enabled, and that meant that overtaking was very, very hard, and perhaps the right decision would have been a lower downforce setting. Fundamentally, one of the things that we need to improve in the car for next year is to get the car to have more downforce at the lower drag levels, and then we can race those lighter wings and still be competitive in the corners, finished Shovlin. Mercedes is now looking towards the 2023 season with joy, and although they are still pushing towards the first win of the season in 2022, it's evident that the championship winning days is what they are really looking towards to bring back in the team. When talking about the direction that his team is taking when it comes to developing the W14, Russell said, "I'm confident that the direction we need to take is the correct one. We have a philosophy that we're going to be trying to adopt in our development, and I'm very confident that it is the correct one. But equally, it doesn't mean that we can necessarily achieve it. We have a target, and that is a massive positive in itself. As I said, we have a clear target we're trying to chase. Now, can we achieve that? I have every confidence that we can. We obviously don't know how much the other rivals are going to improve over the winter, but I definitely have confidence that we will have a more complete car across the circuit ranges into 2023. Also, Russell spoke about the impact that the 2022 car had on the development of the 2023 season, saying that in this season, tracks like Spa, Zandvoort and Monza have helped the team understand what is really wrong with the car and which sections of it needs the most change. It's data-driven, to be honest. We've done a lot of analysis on the races we've been competitive, the races we've been slow, and trying to understand why that was. And I think we've managed to get quite a grasp onto that and understand why at certain circuits we were so much more competitive than others. We've only managed to learn that over the course of these races. And I think that triple header after the summer break was quite telling for us, with our performance swings between the low downforce and the high downforce circuits. But the most interesting part of this is when Russell talked about the new concept, saying that nothing is off the table and that we might see a whole new version of the Mercedes car. It's evident that Russell believes drastic changes need to be made to the W14 if they want to see success, but he didn't want to reveal what these changes are in order to stay ahead of the competition. I think nothing's off the table. For sure, we've got a pretty unique design with the side pods. It's not off the cards that we will continue with that design, but it's equally not off the cards that we will completely change philosophy. But ultimately, whether we have the wide side pods or the narrow side pods, that isn't the performance differentiator. There is more to it. I don't want to go into too much detail because it's something that we worked very hard on to understand and hopefully will give us an advantage into next year. So I don't want to say anything that will potentially benefit our rivals. But at the end of the day, every single car is different. I have to say, I've mentioned a couple of times this year that I feel like we've understood our car and we're on the right track, but we have been set back with a couple of oddities that we weren't expecting. But I think we've had enough races now that we've gone through so many different scenarios that I can't really imagine there's going to be another car that catches us by surprise. We've had the porpoising issues, we've had the ride issues, we've had the car touching the ground and damaging the floor issue, said Russell. The team's boss, Toto Wolff, spoke about the possibility of becoming champions yet again, saying that the 2022 season was very troublesome, but also a learning one for the team after they suffered from a lack of performance. To turn the ship in this industry is a little bit like an oil tanker. First, you have to understand what the root cause is for your non-performance, and then you have to peel the various skins off. What is the first layer? What's the second layer? Are we really on top of all the questions? And the answer is no, we're not. But I think a big chunk of the performance that we are missing, we have discovered. It's not something we can change this year, it's decisions that we've made for next year. But I'm not 100% confident to say that next year we will be fighting for the World Championship. The aim is, the expectation is, but there is still work to do, said Wolff. We do hope that Mercedes understood its own problems because the sport desperately needs a proper six-man fight at the front. But in order for this to happen, we do need to see a better job from Ferrari and their drivers, as well as the tacticians in the team. With that being said, what do you think is next for Mercedes? Do you think that they are back on track and will be competitive yet again in 2023? Let us know in the comments below.